Hello, Oilers fans. Austin here with the day after discussion, the first one of the season between the Edmonton Oilers and the Winnipeg Jets. For those of you who are new to the channel, the day after discussion is a long form type podcast where I talk for an extended period of time about a variety of topics. And for those of you who have tuned in before, you know the drill. I usually have everything time stamped, all the different topics that I talk about. So if there's anything that you want to skip to, anything you want to hear me talk about in not chronological order, you are able to skip through them from the description or on the channel. The media player has all the, I don't know what it's called, chapters, the YouTube chapters. So, day after discussion, Oilers versus Jets. The Oilers, of course, lose 6-0. It was an absolutely ugly game for the Edmonton Oilers. The advanced metrics, their expected goals for last night in all situations, 58.30%. Corsi for 65.50%. However, I will say after Winnipeg got up, I think it was 4-0. They kind of just stopped forechecking, which makes sense. Score effects takes over when you're up big in a game and you're just defending and trying to hold on. And Connor Hellebuyck, of course, made some terrific saves for the Winnipeg Jets, especially early in that second period, which I think was a turning point in the game, but we will talk about that. So our topics today, here we go again, referring, of course, to last year's season opening blowout loss to the Vancouver Canucks. Stuart Skinner is going to be a talking point, and he'll probably be a talking point for a lot of the season if he plays like he did last night. The top guns, I do want to talk about the Oilers, quote-unquote best players. Nurse Emberson, I want to talk about that defense pairing specifically. The third line we're going to talk about, and then Kris Knoblauch and his line shuffling, and then my closing thoughts. So if you end up enjoying the day after discussion and you want to see more videos like this, make sure you hit that like button. Your support goes a long way. The live stream last night that we did during the game was unbelievable. Over 6,000 people at some point tuned into the live stream. So thank you all so much. But let's jump into this. First topic, here we go again. Obviously, last year, we all know how it went against Vancouver Canucks first game of the season, 8-1 loss, and then on the way to a 2-9-1 record, fired Jay Woodcroft, brought in Kris Knoblauch. Now, do I think the Oilers are going to get off to a start similar to last season? No, I don't think so. I think this is definitely a game where you can look at and be concerned about, especially with some of the defensive lapses. Some of the Oilers' best players were definitely not their best players, and Stuart Skinner had himself an absolutely horrific game. Everything that could have went wrong in terms of talking points and storylines heading into the season. Can the defense hold on? Can Stuart Skinner be the guy? And can the Oilers offense outscore their troubles? All of those were failures last night. And there is similarities to that Vancouver game. However, I will say the team didn't look nearly as bad as that Vancouver game. The Vancouver game last year, I went back and rewatched a bunch of it before recording this video today. And the way Edmonton played in that game compared to the game last night against Winnipeg, it was night and day difference. The Oilers against the Vancouver Canucks last season in Vancouver when they lost 8-1, most of the players looked like they didn't know where they were supposed to be on the ice. There was so much confusion with defensive coverage. There were players pointing at each other to go in different parts of the ice. It was an absolute disaster. Yes, the goaltending was also very bad, but the Oilers definitely really struggled with their new defensive system that Jay Woodcroft was trying to implement. Last night, the major issues were some defensive breakdowns and then goaltending that you need to improve. And of course, the Oilers, they had some really good looks. They could have had a couple goals. It could have been a much closer game. Obviously, it didn't turn out that way because Connor Hellebuyck is an elite starting goaltender. But the Oilers, I'm not as concerned as I would be if the team looked completely discombobulated like last season's season opener. So in terms of here we go again, the only similarity really is the fact that they were blown out for the second straight season in the opening game of the calendar year. So, unfortunate. It's an unfortunate result. It'll be pretty easy to look at the major, impacts through video for the coaching staff. It'll be easy for everyone to figure out what they need to do better for next game. Now, I will say, if the Oilers come out against Chicago on Saturday and lay another egg, let's say Chicago wins like 5-2 or something, there will be huge causes for concern. I will then start ringing the alarm bell a little bit. I had a lot of people during preseason ask me, are we concerned about preseason leading into the regular season performance? And I told so many people, and there's probably a lot of you watching right now that feel a little bit vindicated because there's a lot of people in the comments that express their doubts coming out of preseason because the Oilers didn't look great in preseason. They weren't scoring a whole lot. Defensively, they looked shaky. Goaltending wasn't great. And that all happened last night as well, now that the regular season has started. And I kept telling everyone, I was like, you know what? The only thing that matters is regular season. Well, the regular season is here and nothing improved from the preseason. So hopefully this is not an extended preview of the season to come, because this will be a very, very long and disappointing 82-game year if Edmonton cannot figure things out sooner rather than later. I will say, though, I'm not overly concerned. There are some players I am concerned about, and, not the players that I initially thought. With the initial concern is, Derek Ryan, Corey Perry, the older, slower vets, Adam Henrique. They ended up actually being our best players last night. I really liked Corey Perry. I thought he was our best player. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. I think Corey Perry was legitimately the best Oiler last night. I thought Adam Henrique played good. I thought Janmark and Brown played really good. Connor Brown had 2 or 3 really good chances to score. A couple good tips in front that was stopped by Hellebuyck. Victor Arvidsson, I thought, had a good game. But, in saying that, we're going to move into Stuart Skinner. And Stuart Skinner had a bad game. And he'll be the first one to tell you that he had a bad game. But the thing I want to talk about was his post-game interview. It was very interesting. He mentioned that the game felt fast to him, faster than he expected, and he thought maybe he was being too aggressive. Which, I mean, when you look at some of the goals that he gave up, you could kind of agree with the aggression. I feel like there was only like 2 goals where maybe he was out a little too much. But his reaction time is what was slow. So if that's what he meant by the speed was too fast, so therefore he wasn't reacting in time, that could make sense too. But if Stuart Skinner, I mean, you got to be ready to go, right? Like, did he not get proper reps in practice, preseason? Stuart Skinner's supposed to be the guy. And again, this is a goaltender that there are so many fans that doubt him. The talking points of Stuart Skinner anytime he has a bad game is what we're talking about right now. Can he be the guy? Can he be relied on consistently? Are we going to get, game 1 to 3 in the playoffs, Stuart Skinner, or are we going to get games 4 to 7 in a playoff series, Stuart Skinner? Last night, it was a game 1 to 3, Stuart Skinner, where he just looks like he's completely out of it, and it's unfortunate. I will say, I thought Kris Knoblauch was going to pull him sooner than they did. When it was 5-0, I was screaming during the live stream, screaming for Kris Knoblauch to pull him. I was yelling mercy. I was like, please take him out. Did not realize that Calvin Pickard had to get ready to get going. And then I'm pretty sure they did the goalie switch right before a commercial break. So maybe that was just Kris Knoblauch not wanting to pull Stuart Skinner halfway through the period before they go to a commercial break. You have the fan reaction, which would probably be pretty negative. By the way, I think the fans had a pretty good showing last night. Even when the team was down 5-0, they were still chanting, "Let's go Oilers." They were still being rowdy. They were still trying to pump the team up and get the boys going. So if you were at the game last night, kudos to all of you. I think that's a great sign in terms of a fan perspective. It's nice to see. Years ago, Oilers fans, they would have been leaving the building in droves after the second period, and the building would have been dead quiet. You could hear a pin drop in some of the older games for the Oilers when I was growing up. So it was nice to see. The atmosphere was still very positive last night at Rogers Place. So if you were at the game, I love to see that. I'm also really glad that I did not see the wave, so thank you for not doing the wave during the game, because if you're doing the wave in a 6-0 loss, I don't know what we're doing here. So not that there's ever a good time to do the wave. Everyone's going to flame me in the comments for mentioning the wave in a game where Edmonton lost 6-0. I get it. So yeah, Stuart Skinner obviously has to be much, much better, and I think he will be much, much better. However, again, there are concerning signs, but as long as the team rebounds, in a couple of weeks from now, Edmonton could be 6-7-1, and we're forgetting about the season opener. We're not even talking about this game. But because that the microscope is so dialed in right now on that home opener last night, we got to talk about the things that aren't great and the things that need improvement. So Stuart Skinner, please improve, because I am your biggest fan. And if Stuart Skinner cannot hold down the fort, and if the Oilers struggle throughout the rest of the year, it's gonna suck. It is not gonna be a fun time. Now, moving on from Stuart Skinner, he wasn't the only one that had a poor showing last night. The Oilers' top guns, and I'm talking about Connor McDavid, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Zach Hyman, Leon Draisaitl. These are your 4 best players. I'll even throw Evan Bouchard in there too. Those are your 5 best players. Arguably your 5 best players. Your players that you rely on the most for offense. Connor McDavid had 0 shots on goal last night. 0. None. Zilch. For a season opening game against the Winnipeg Jets, Connor McDavid with 0 shots on goal. Leon Draisaitl did not have a great game. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins had a very rare bad game offensively, but also really bad game defensively. The giveaways that he had, the turnovers that he had that were leading to goals against. There was one especially egregious one where I was just like dumbfounded at what I was looking at, because Nugent Hopkins, it's very rare that he, bobbles the puck or gives it away in the middle of the ice. And the game transitions to a odd man rush for an opposing team and they end up scoring. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, he played into a couple goals last night, and he was directly responsible, I would say, for a couple goals. Yes, you want to save, but you still need your best players to be better than that. Zach Hyman, I thought, had a pretty quiet game. Didn't notice him a whole lot. Yes, he hit the post in the third period off a pretty good shot. And again, it's tough to point out Jeff Skinner and Victor Arvidsson right now, mostly because they're new and they're still getting used to the team, the system, chemistry with Draisaitl. So your top guys have to, they're the guys that are pulling on the rope, and you got to pull with them. However, when they're not pulling on the rope, it's really hard for the rest of the team to get anything going. When your best players are Matthias Janmark, Connor Brown, and Adam Henrique and Corey Perry, obviously there's a lot to improve in terms of the Oilers' top six and their top guns, as I call them. So in that aspect, they have to be much better. If the Oilers are going to find any success this season, their top players have to be much, much better, especially Draisaitl, especially McDavid, especially Nugent-Hopkins and Hyman. Because if for some strange reason that top six just can't seem to handle things and they're not scoring the way they're supposed to, and the power play doesn't click. Yeah, I know the Oilers only had one power play last night, but again, it didn't look great. The power play didn't look great. Not that they earned a lot of power plays to begin with. Again, that's going to be another thing where we're going to look at and be like, okay, this is very concerning. Obviously, there were, some players are going to regress. Zach Hyman, he's due to regress. He's not going to score over 50 goals again this season. It's just not going to happen. You don't go from a career high 24, 25 goals. You come to a new team and then you score 30, 36, and then you jump all the way up over 50. He'll come back down. He'll score in the 30s still, which is still good. But if they play like they did last night for a large chunk of the season, McDavid's not going to sniff 100 points. Hyman's not going to sniff 30 goals. It's so, when we look at it from that angle, I'm not worried about the production that will be coming, but I was concerned about how some individuals played last night. And it's not often that I call out a Connor McDavid because they do so much. He does so much for the team and the game. And he is someone that the team has relied on for years and years and years for offense. So he deserves to have games where he doesn't play great and have other players step up. Other players did step up. They just couldn't put the puck in the net. So the top guns have to be much better before the game against Chicago on Saturday. Moving on, we're going to talk about the Nurse-Emberson defense pairing. And I had a lot of hope heading into the season with Darnell Nurse and Ty Emberson, especially Ty Emberson. He played very good in San Jose. Small sample size, 30-some-odd games. But his advanced metrics on a very bad San Jose team were good. His micro stats were very good. I still think Ty Emberson is a good fit there. My issue last night actually wasn't Darnell Nurse. Now, the defense pair as a whole, they were cratered in terms of expected goals for last night. They were the only defense pair that was below 50%. I think they combined for like a 28% expected goals for share. So Nurse and Emberson, that looks bad, right? If you look at it from a numbers perspective, that looks bad. But watching the game, and I rewatched a lot of it this morning before recording here, it was Ty Emberson that was struggling. Darnell Nurse, I actually thought was in really good spots. And again, Stuart Skinner probably could have made a save or two. But Ty Emberson was the one where I was like, okay, he's running around a little bit. Now, I don't know if he was just nervous. Brand new team, home opener. The energy level's a little bit different. The expectation of playing on a Stanley Cup contender as opposed to a last place team going for a draft lottery like last year. I could see how that would overwhelm a younger player, a younger, more inexperienced player. Ty Emberson last night did not look great. I thought he really, really struggled. So this is a player that fans, I hope, are patient with. I know I'm going to have to be patient. Last night, I was pretty disappointed, but rewatching the game and then understanding more context about maybe why he didn't play great, I feel a little bit differently now. And again, I think there are good signs in Darnell Nurse's game. I thought Nurse played well. I thought he didn't try and do too much on offense. He didn't try and do too much on defense. He was getting sticks in the lanes. He was making good outlet passes. Darnell Nurse was fine. It's Ty Emberson that will have to play much better if he wants to hold on to that second pair spot. And if for some reason Ty Emberson cannot handle these minutes, if he cannot find a way to hang on to a top 4 spot and he gets bumped down and you're trying to bump up Dermott or Stetcher, that's going to be an absolute disaster. The Oilers for sure still need a bona fide top 4 D-man, I think, through trade or however they want to acquire someone. The season is still so young. I'm not going to, sit here and overreact too much, but Ty Emberson definitely looked overwhelmed last night. So hopefully that's just a one-off. Just get the first game jitters out of the way. Darnell Nurse takes him under his wing, says, you know what, kid, don't even worry about it. Long season, it's a marathon, not a sprint. For Ty Emberson, though, I did want to mention him and Darnell Nurse because they were paired together on the ice for a couple goals against. But Darnell Nurse, I thought, played well. And if Darnell Nurse plays like that all season, it's just going to be about finding a good fit to play with him. So we'll see how Ty Emberson responds on Saturday, and we'll see how Paul Coffey and the coaching staff respond as well. But we'll move on. We'll talk about the third line here. Last night, I kind of already mentioned it when I was talking about the Top Guns. I thought the best line for Edmonton last night was their third line. Now, you could make an argument the fourth line was actually better in terms of expected goals. However, I will say just in terms of quality and quantity of chances, the Matthias Janmark, Adam Henrique, Connor Brown line was phenomenal last night. They were all over the puck. They were great on the forecheck. They were generating opportunities in front. Connor Brown had a terrific tip in front of the crease on his first shift of the game. Really, really solid third line, and there were concerns heading into the season. Can that third line sustain their play that they had in the Cup final? Because, that line had been together before, and their metrics weren't great. Again, small sample size. So there's always a little bit of concern, will they be able to translate play from the playoffs to the regular season? They play like they did last night every single game. The Oilers' third line, that's terrific. And they're going to put the puck in the net. And Connor Brown's going to have a good season. And Adam Henrique is a very smart player. Adam Henrique was someone last night who was doing all the little things really, really well. Every time I'd see him on the ice when I was rewatching the game this morning, he's just always in the right spot. And you love to see that, these veteran players that just know where they're supposed to be and help to get a puck out if it's loose along the boards, if it's helping out the defender in the corner, or if it's just moving up the ice in transition, making a good pass. Adam Henrique, I thought, played really well. Connor Brown, probably one of the best Oilers last night for Edmonton in terms of generating opportunities. Corey Perry, again, was up there too. But that third line for Edmonton was really good. What wasn't great, though, was the penalty kill, which a lot of the players on that third line aren't part of. The Oilers gave up 2 power play goals on 3 opportunities. Major regression from that penalty kill from the postseason where you couldn't score on them no matter how many opportunities you had. Now, we all knew the penalty kill was going to regress. We all knew that there was going to be regression in special teams in general because the way they played in the playoffs, it's not sustainable. You don't sustain a 94, 95% penalty kill. But the penalty kill left a lot to be desired last night. Again, one of those games where, I think the players were kind of out of it by the time Winnipeg scored, especially that second power play goal for Winnipeg in the third period to make it 6-0. Not great. And again, Draisaitl, not a good penalty to take. Draisaitl just falling down in the slot in front of the net and then just tripping a guy after. I don't know. Draisaitl tripped on an invisible banana peel. Everything that went wrong could have went wrong. So that third line, though, again, I get so sidetracked. I have all my topics, but then I start talking about other things other than what I'm supposed to be talking about. Third line played really well. Hopefully they continue to play that well. In terms of generating expected goals percentage, they were terrific, and hopefully that continues for the Oilers. Now, the next thing I'm going to talk about before we get into our closing thoughts is Kris Knoblauch. The one thing about Kris Knoblauch is he usually doesn't panic. He doesn't over panic. He doesn't over analyze his lines. He doesn't usually, pull out the blender very often. He does do it, but his blender is usually, you know what? Let's just put Draisaitl with McDavid because we need a goal, which every coach has done since Draisaitl has, broken into the league as a full-time NHLer, from Todd McClellan to Dave Tippett to Jay Woodcroft to now Kris Knoblauch. That's what they do. They put Draisaitl and McDavid together when they need a goal. What I will say, though, and something that disappointed me last night, the team is down 5-0, right? Yes, you want a goal. You want to see some offense. However, there are players on this team that need to get chemistry together. And your second line is supposed to be Draisaitl, Jeff Skinner, and Victor Arvidsson. I don't know why you're just not playing that line consistently just to get chemistry. Last night, that line was broken up. Draisaitl was played up with McDavid numerous times in the third. Nugent Hopkins was put down on the second line with Skinner and Arvidsson. But these guys are not going to get chemistry. They didn't get a lot of reps in preseason. They're not going to get the chemistry that they need if you're not playing them together. And the best time to do it is if you're getting blown out. Just play the guys that you want to get better together. Just keep them together. Maybe they get a goal or two and start feeling good about their game. So the message that I think that could send to an Arvidsson and a Jeff Skinner is not a positive one. Maybe, I don't like to speculate on what players are thinking when, Draisaitl's taken away from their line and put with someone else, and then you take someone and put them with your line. I didn't like that decision from Knoblauch last night. I also didn't like how long it took him to pull Stuart Skinner. However, like I mentioned, Calvin Pickard had to get ready, I guess. I don't know. Usually the backup goalies are just ready to go. Kris Knoblauch, though, Paul Coffey, interesting decisions with the lines, the defense pairs. Hopefully they figure things out. And hopefully by Saturday, the lines are more intact, and hopefully the Oilers play better and score some goals so they don't have to break up all the lines and shuffle everything around and look for some offense. At one point in the second period, I'm pretty sure Corey Perry was put up on the top line with Draisaitl and McDavid too. So I don't know what that was all about. Obviously, they were rewarding Corey Perry because I thought Corey Perry played very well. But still, keep your guys together. There are players that need to build chemistry together. Keep them together, please. But that's pretty much it from me. Closing thoughts. Obviously, we talked about, should we be concerned heading into the rest of the season after last night? I'm going to say no. If they get blown out Saturday by Chicago, then yeah, I will be very concerned. Stuart Skinner's got to be better. The top guns have to be better. Ty Emberson has to be better. The third line, they're pretty good. The third line, they're fine. Kris Knoblauch, don't put your lines in a blender that early, please. I don't care if you're losing 5-0 or 1-0. Please don't do that. That is pretty much it from me. If you have watched up to this point in the video, I truly appreciate it. The first day after discussion of the season. I know my brain is kind of scattered and I get sidetracked all the time, but I do appreciate everyone's support. And the live stream last night was great. I will be live streaming again on Saturday, doing a live stream commentary on Austin hockey. And then, of course, after the game, I will be over on the Game Over Edmonton YouTube channel doing a post-game show for them. So if you want to check out the Game Over Edmonton YouTube channel, if you want to check out the Game Over Network, obviously I have their little logo and website bottom right screen right now, but I will leave links in the description for you to click on and check out, because they are building something pretty incredible, and I'm very excited about the future of Game Over as a whole. I will be doing a post-game show for them. And of course, the other thing, I do have a Discord server now, so if you want to join the Discord server and hang out with a bunch of other hockey fans, doesn't have to be Oilers fans related, you can click the link that I'll have in the description and you can join the Discord. It's going to be tons of fun. We are building an amazing community. We are almost at 3,900 subscribers. So we are well on the way to over 4,000 subscribers this season, and hopefully we can even hit 5,000 by the end of the year. So make sure you hit like on today's video. Make sure you hit subscribe if you really liked it. Share my channel with your friends and family, anyone that you think might enjoy my content, and tell someone that you love them. That's the most important part. Always tell someone that you love them, and fight like a kid. Fight like Ben. Hopefully the Oilers play much better on Saturday. We'll see you then. Take care.